ma-Africa a matle. Kajeno re le tshwaretse program eno takatsa kamanda discussing all things heritage. Masixoxeni ngenkcubeko yakwaNtu. Hi, good day. How are you?
Siyaphila ninjani?
Okay, so as I said, my name is Mbuzo. So just to start, can you please introduce yourself?
My name is Mbuzo Khoza. I was born in Eshowe. I'm a songwriter, storyteller, and an old man of the village.
Which village is that?
The village of Khoza in Eshowe. There's a place called Khoza in Eshowe. How we got that place, it was around the reign of King Shaka, where my ancestor Sikonyane fought the battle of Mbuzo with Ufaku, and he confiscated some cows after the Zulus ran. Yes.
So just to get into it, can you tell us who or what Nguni is in relation to Luzumane, Khoza, Zulu, Swati, and Ndebele?
Nguni, wokuqala, the first, he was a father to Amaswati, Abegunene, Khoza, Mazulu, and Ndebele. But on the side of Zulu, you have Nguni, who is the head of all the Amangoni, but you have Ulufeni, who is a father to Ugumede. Ugumede is a father to Nguni the second, who is a father to Uluzmane. Uluzmane and there is Malande. Then he is a father to the two sons, Uzulu and Uqwa.
Okay, is it King Shaka Zulu?
Even before, Shaka is much younger to that dynasty, but that's what, when we speak of the Zulu dynasty, we are looking at Nguni the first, Ulubolo or Lufeni, who is a father to Ugumede, Ugumede, who is a father to Nguni the second. This is why Okwabe, when Betagasela, they say Nguni, but they are referring to the Nguni the second, who is a father to Uluzmane, then Umalandela, Ngulandela, Nkomozamatede, and then you have Ukwabe as an heir or eldest son, and Uzulu as the youngest son. Their mother was Unozinja or Unozdia.
Okay, so how did those different languages evolve in time?
The evolution of languages or dialectology, I would say, it was when us as a family, we have a fight and then we gather, and we even mispronounce certain words so that we do not sound like those families. And this is how we get scared. To understand that others would cut their faces and say, we are the Khozas, but not those Khozas, you know. So this is how we get to scatter. If you look at maybe Amanguni of KwaZulu, you move from eThekwini to Mandeni to Eshowe to Nongo. They can hear one another when they speak, and you would hear like a Zulu, a normal Zulu, but they will tell you that this one is from Marisbeck, or this one is from Thekwini, this one is from. For instance, when they say wenziwa ukuthi in Nongoma, they say lona wenziwa ukuthi instead of wu. Hey. They suffix differently, and then the tonality, if you go as far as the times of Abeteta, during the times of Ushaka, even before Ushaka, Odingswayo, you would realize that they would speak in Yeyeza dialect, replacing L with a Y. When they say Wozalapa, they would say Wosayapa. You see, when Ushaka maybe would come from the Zulu hut, maybe penning in Beppo, preparing for the battle, when it comes to the crawl and say, I'm making an example maybe for a battle, because he would not say, we are fighting, so and so. He would say, meaning, and then they would say, when I went off you of the power of the elephant, bayete, meaning balete, bring them. Then later it sounded as a praise, but etymologically, linguistically, and also morphologically, what makes sense semantically, it's when they say bayete or balete, bring them you of the power of the elephant.
Thank you. So where does Soshangane come into all this? And how is he related to King Shaka Zulu?
There is no relation. I think uSoshangane being the son of Uzigode Gagasa, he was a strong warrior who did not fight with Shaka. He decided to take Nguni because it was Mabone, it was Zwangendaba of the jail, and then when they migrated during the Mfatane battles, they fought in Bile, in what you call Bila today. I think Zwangendaba was conquered, and then they moved to Malawi, and then Soshangane moved to what you call today Mozambique, being now the son of Uzigode Gagasa. Gibonga uGasa omkhulu, then you have Gaza.
Okay, so you just said there's no relation between Soshangane and...
It's just that there was both strongest warriors.
Oh, they were both strong.
Actually, Soshangane is related to the Ngumalo of the Zwide.
Oh,
yeah.
Can you tell us about him?
Ngumalo is the son of, I think, they are brothers with Uzwide, Ngumalo and Zwide. From Ulanga, who's also known as Mkhajo at the same time. So what happened was that Ngumalo, his family, his parents died earlier. How he got to be called Ngumalo, there's what we call him Ngumo, where the bottle for the milk. So now when they were feeding other kids, they would also feed him, and until they play with the Ngumalo, and then they play until the nickname became famous, then his name.
Oh, okay, no, I get it. So is there a relationship between Shangans and Tsonga, according to your knowledge?
The Tsongas and Shangan are not the same person. You can hear that how they got their name. So Shangan is from their father, also Shangan, or their head. But because they fought these battles and they interacted with Amatsonga, they speak an almost similar language, but there is a huge difference between Amatsonga and Amashangana. Amashangana actually Amazulu who are from Mkuze. So Shangana is from Mkuze here in Mbuzo.
Oh, okay. So do you think this Shangana has any impact on Tsonga people today?
It does have a huge impact if you follow the history around Nguni and how they interacted in the battles. But at the end of the day, historically, Amashangane, abantu bale KwaZulu. This is why it confuses us during May and when we call people foreigners. Not understanding what these people now who moved, for instance, with Zwangendaba and Soshangane, those who went to Malawi and Zambia, they were called Amanguni from Nguni, but their surnames, they were mispronounced later. Khoza became Khosas because the new generation being born where they are speaking Isilozi, and now Nguni became Ngoni if you look at the etymology of the word. And now if you go back to Iswahili, Mungu is God, Mwenyezi Mungu. So now if they say Munguni, we need to investigate that. And if you go back, before Abraham was born, there was a man called Nguni, and they were Gunites. And later Abraham has a son by the name of Unauthorised. Unauthorised is the father to Nguni, the second. So we need to check these etymologies and also the issue of Abantu. And if there was really Untu, what is the difference between Into, a thing, which is a unit of thoughts, meaning out of thinking comes a thing, meaning to think is to think. It's one and the same thing. And then you look at the humans. Humans, abantu, abayona inhlanganisela yemicabango. People are not a unit of thoughts. People are comprised of micro-living cells, meaning they are sharing the energy here. So now this is what will bring a difference linguistically between Indo and Untu.
Okay. I also heard you were talking about Swahili.
Yes.
Is there are we also related there somehow, Zulu, Swahili, and Shangan?
Yeah, Iswahili for me, I would say it's an African English because you find so many words that are understood across different languages, such as isiXhosa, isiZulu. You find isiSotho there, a bit of Arab.
Oh.
So I think if universities were to really pursue having one African language that can be studied from primary to university, also being used in science and mathematics, I think Swahili could help us doing that, because we are suffering from tribalism and we have no language that represents us. If we were to say which language that is going to be used in the university, maybe Zulus will say us and Khoza will say us. So we really need to think objectively at some point about that. Yes.
Exactly. Interesting.
Yes.
So if you were to educate us about Heritage Day, tradition and culture, maybe the difference between those three, what would you say?
I would say history comes in as a recorder of events, and later cultures are born. And when those cultures are unable to be practiced, they fall under inheritance. Hence, on Heritage Day, we wear a certain way. So now, later traditions gives birth to other practices. Esingawabiza ngemikhuba nosiko lwemindeni. This is why we have other people cutting their faces, because maybe there was a feud between those families, and when they moved, they decided to mark themselves differently from the previous family. And uthole ukuthi, for instance, uQwabe noZulu, it's one and the same family, but today if you are looking at them, it's like they never related before. You're looking at Khoza and Osbisi, looking at Umangena being a father to Ugumede, and Ugumede is a father to Umahlase, Umkhathi. But when you're looking at the Khozas and the species, so I think at some point ubuhlobo buhamba buphele over the years.
So that is heritage, tradition, and culture.
Yes, that is heritage, tradition, and culture. And I can further explain and say, after history has recorded Khoza and the events, history becomes like the falling of the leaves from the tree, causing humor, so that at some point we will be reminded of that thing, and it fertilizes our minds again.
Yeah.
And they say history is owned by the stronger beings in the space. At some point, from time to time, they will just vibrate high, and we find ourselves speaking about that person.
Thank you on
Tradition is a handover. Transfer, dere, like ancestor, the one who came before you. So when you say ancestors, it's not even associated with spiritual connections, but anything, ukwandulela, indulo, anduba, umandul. So to hand over, meaning if you have been practicing maybe agrarian culture, planting, and then later you take this to your kids and say, this is how you plant. That's a tradition. Yes, to hand over.
And culture?
Culture is a manifestation of human intellectuality, also serve almost like a heritage, because the culture is also being passed down. But the difference with the culture is that it is a daily practice. It is how people express themselves and how to live on daily basis.
Lobola or lobola?
Lobola for me is a verb, but ilobolo is a noun. Yes.
Okay, so the relevance of it in today's time?
The relevance of it, it's about transactions more than the crafting of the society. Because in the Zulu culture, cows used to be only 3. If you listen to Ngambe, actually I was discussing with Dr. Mafokodi, talking about that. If these songs are saying this, now Amahubo comes in now as a recorder of events again for these cultural activities, so that for as long as these things are recorded in a song, we are being able to remind it, oh, this is how things were done. Ilobolo should be about people coming together because they love one another, even if but in the crafting of the society, this is where we play a role by saying we are not going to behave like animals and sleep without showing gratefulness to other family members, such as umama olala ngesinquthu bese kuthiwa kunenkomo yenquthu kube khona inkomo kababa etc. Yebo, so akufanelanga lento yenziwe business, because this is why black families are not surviving in the modern day. They are being devoured. Even look at other activities such as umkhehlo. After in the negotiation of ilobol, actually it's not even a negotiation, it's the meeting of the families, discussion, maybe it's not ilobol or discussion, because we are not getting into a business aspect of things. What if this child see ilobol on 205th and a show on Texas? Is there a price for a human? And kuthiwa impilo ayibekelwa nani, and humanity will be a better beings if they were to come to understanding with this. Umkhehlo now, after ilobolo has been given to the family, not paid, because it gives a man now to say I paid, then you become a property. So and I've seen umkhehlo being taken on a bigger ground, style. So we are saying that it was an odd number. Isigejana sabantu, 7 people, maybe with a goat and indishi filled with what you call a material for intloko noma isibuda, because it was permanent. So now they would sing outside, Mako, Saga, Kumet, and then the family comes out, oh, Abasemzin Sabeko. Then they accept, they kill this goat and they take a hydrochloric acid, they gall in your, and then symbolically by Fagelana, so that later ubaba lento kuthiwa uma kuthiwa uchonya uphaphe, there is inyonga abayifuthayo imbuzi abayifaka la kuthiwa imbuzi yophapha, ubaba wakho saying today I am giving you accolades in this family, usumdala manje ngikuchoma uphaphe. But all these stages we are exaggerating them, and we end up spending unnecessary funds, and this thing is about 2 families coming together.
So has it always been a thing where people pay using cows, cattle?
No. It was plowing tools, even vegetables. Even neighbors would maybe donate chickens, so that this thing, and maybe 2 goats.
As simple as that. Okay, so what would you say to people who might say this thing promotes violence and misogyny?
What?
Lobola promotes violence and misogyny. What would you say to those people?
I wouldn't say it promotes violence, but it causes backwardness in the black families, because there are people today who are not married because they are stopped by an amount of cows. When in 1910, 1911, Seth Shepstein, I think he had that referendum with the Zulus, and he was asking that family, how much do you pay for ilobol? And say, to me it's just goats. And the other one, they would say it depends. And then he said, no, you must have laws. So a normal person would be 11 cows, Induna would be a courtier of the king, Inkosi would be 16 cows, and then if it's Inkosi, it used to be 25, and now I hear it's around 50. Is that not classism? And trying to enforce a price, but in something that doesn't require price to happen. It's we're not honest as a nation and as a society.
From Lobola, now we're going to be talking about surnames.
Yes.
Yeah, so what purposes were surnames, or when were they introduced, if you can remember?
It began with the names of the areas. So you would be given you'd be given a name, maybe of your father, and then firstly they would say Mbuzo Khoza, like Mary Magdala, Mary from Magdala. This was Judah Iscariot was from Ascara, the place that was called. So later people began to be called by the head of the families. Later, it moved to being called by the name of your father, like Robert son or son of Robert or Robertson, something like that. Ushaka ka senza ngakhona, uyabona, something like that. Later, they had to use the head of that family so that in terms of identification processes, they can trace your ancestor lineage, where you're coming from. So, Ukhoza lo, Ukhoza, because in the 1800s they were seen with the Khoza lomlilo, the flame, as hunter gatherers. So you see now, and surnames sometimes they are inspired by the names of the areas. For instance, or Dembe, it is believed that they were residing next to the river Umdembe. Then that's how they got their name. Others, it's happenings, and then you get like Dlangamandla. Ushaka was attacking those people, and then they gave him so many cows. No, Dlangamandla, but not to be confused with Ondla Ngamandla. Yes.
A controversial one. The law that was just introduced now, where a man can take his woman's surname. What's your take on that?
I don't think naturally that works, because our culture is a way of life, not even a religion. There are discussions. I mean, the reason in the olden days a woman could not become Ngos is because naturally this person is going to be married to another surname, and then Khosi is under threat. The throne will be under threat. So this is why they would say, we know you would like her. So now we're gonna end up having people penetrating your own country because now they are marrying a woman. You know, so we don't know how they got to that, because why uzochelwa ngenyongo umugana kwaKhoza kodwa now bese ngizochelwa ngenyongo? How is it gonna really work? Because your surname is the work of your forefathers. My surname is the work of my forefathers. This is why they used to protect it dearly, with battles, with everything they had. And now, maybe it's the cause of evolution. Let's say that it's a cause of evolution, but I don't think culturally in Africa this thing is gonna last.
It won't last in an African culture.
In an African culture, in an African spirit, where ubaba natural une testosterone, estrogen, libido, your mentality iti, I must fight for my family, and you have an estrogen by naturally, and you didn't create yourself like that, and now you're gonna take a place of a person with testosterone and libido. I don't know if it's not gonna clash even naturally or scientifically.
Okay, I know a lot of people fight.
I'm not saying it's patriarchal, I'm just looking at it naturally. Look at the animals are followed by many women, clownesses, to symbolize what nature is expressing to us. We may evolve, but what in your nature, the word nature is natura, it's a field of behaviors, it's how things express themselves. So now, if you're gonna go against the wave coming like this, you're swimming in futility.
Okay, so I'll just read out this one.
Yes.
So it says, what is the purpose of traditions such as umhlanga, and should they be preserved and still practiced in the future?
Yeah, I think it's very important for that to be preserved, because we can't be having young kids getting pregnant even before they know how to. Then we're creating an animal lounge den, because your child is going to want to sleep with the neighbor because it happened with you, it happened with that one. And asizukutshela zingane sekudingeka abazali abazokhuluma into eqonde ngokuthi akukwazi kuba nezingane ezizozala zingakakulungeli ukuba ngabazali, ingakho izogoqozana emakhaya, because who is teaching these kids? But now ngoba we are trying to be relevant, ake sibe nabazali ngesikhuluma iqiniso, umbhedo nje.
So if you can just explain to us, what is umhlanga?
Umhlanga, let me just give you an example. It's symbolism. Look at the Easter, Ostara, Oist, or Ishtar. That was a goddess in Far East and cultures. such as Rome and Greece and others, they believe that Queen Wabu Easter is a fertility princess, and now he would give birth to new things, hence they would use eggs. Now, Tina, we are symbolizing an ecological awareness where we say, meaning humans, and then they give birth and they create a society. And then now we are symbolizing that the reed is the pureness of the young ones.